The way the season has turned for Manchester United and the frustrations that we do see at Jose Mourinho, or in his demeanor, we do see that many people have been asking Xhaka, is his time at Man United coming to an end? Could he be possibly leaving at the end of the season? Well, he says it's all garbage news, but again, his demeanor tells me something different. Xhaka, what do you think? Is everything finally getting to him?
I think a lot of things are getting to him. And to answer your first question, I don't think Jose Mourinho will leave Manchester United at the end of this season, certainly not by his own accord. But I do feel that things are getting to him.
He's a little more snappish now.
He's very snappy, and in the past he's had a lot of things, particularly during his time in English football, where the media can be so much more intrusive than elsewhere in Europe. And he has been a media darling up until his arrival at Manchester United. Now all of a sudden the expectation is different, the rhetoric is different, both in terms of performances, not just in terms of how they get results, but their performances during the course of the 90 minutes. And I just feel that Manchester United are a different animal in that respect, different from what he'd become used to at Chelsea.
But how so? Because we know that they're a big club, but he's no stranger to big clubs, at Chelsea, at Real Madrid as well, where we started to see, again, similar things now. So he knows that this is par for the course when you're used to managing these top teams.
His time in England is totally different at Manchester United. And I've made this comparison all the time. He arrives at Stamford Bridge. Chelsea hadn't won a title in 50 years. He comes, he delivers multiple titles. He delivers a lot of silverware in his first spell, and he automatically becomes a darling of the Chelsea faithful. He then steps away after having his issues with Abramovich. Wasn't the first manager, wasn't the last. But I still feel that he is held very dearly, or had been held very dearly, by the Chelsea fans. So when he comes back, he's embraced accordingly. But you saw some of that pressure at Real Madrid. At Inter, it was a different remit in that Inter had been doing well in Serie A, multiple titles themselves, but he delivered in Champions League. Goes to Real Madrid, and Real Madrid, there is just one bar you have to clear, and that is Barcelona. Everything else does not matter.
Albeit a very tall bar.
A very tall bar. And you started to see some of those pressures, some of those frustrations spill out. The touchline incident with now deceased Tito Villanova immediately springs to mind. Some of his rhetoric during his time in Madrid kind of mirrors what you're seeing now at Old Trafford. But then, as I mentioned, comes back to Chelsea, things go a little bit pear-shaped. He finds himself at Manchester United and trying to rescue that reputation. But as much as he may have gotten results, as much as he won silverware last season, he continued to get criticism, not just from the media, who, as I mentioned, he'd been the darling of, but most notably from Manchester United past players who'd done so much, who are held in even higher esteem by Manchester United fans. And I think all those pressures coming from all those different angles are starting to tell, because he has gotten snappy. He hasn't been able to have his way with the media as he'd done in the past. And having spoken to him in person, having dealt with him and done interviews with him in person, where he was so likable, he was so approachable, now you get the impression that things are very different. And for me, that's telling. I don't feel for a minute that means come September Manchester United are going to have a new manager. But it does seem that the pressure is starting to get to him.
That's true indeed, definitely something changing in his demeanor there. But if we know Jose Mourinho, he is quite the fighter and he is very stubborn himself. So I would be surprised to see if September he's still not there at Man United.